Hi everyone, my name's Callum Ross. I'm a pupil at Chavasse Court Chambers in Liverpool. I am practising in crime and family. I'm currently in the first 6 of my pupillage. I started about a month ago. I was asked by Chris to do a video and I think he mainly wants me to talk about the pupillage process. And that is a process that I went through last year, and I envisage many of the watchers of this video, it's a process you're currently going through or are gearing up to go through in due course. It is tough and it is a mentally draining process. I certainly found it exceptionally hard. I think I had around 20 interviews in the end before I was successful with getting a pupillage offer. But I do think it is a process that is worth going through if you really, really do want to practice as a barrister. If that is what you want, then my advice to you fundamentally is to keep going and don't let any form of rejection define you in any way. I had plenty of rejections before I reached the point that I'm at now, and I think inevitably it's always made me a stronger candidate to have had that rejection and not let it define me. I have written a guide and it is something that I would encourage all of you to take a look at. It's entitled The Search for Pupillage, and it's essentially just I think it's a 58-page guide that really ties down my thoughts on and advice on how to do well on pupillage application forms, how to make yourself look good, how to really perform well in first round and second round interviews. So if any of you are interested in that, then just get in contact with me on my LinkedIn. It's just under the name Callum Ross. Connect with me, send me a message, and I will get a copy of that over to you for you to read. In terms of the rest of this video, I think I'm just going to break down into what I think my 3 biggest tips are for any candidates out there going through the pupillage process. And they are these. Firstly, always make sure that you back yourself. You've got to be your own advocate. Pupillage panels are looking for those who can argue for themselves in that process, because at the end of the day, if you can be your own advocate, then you can definitely be someone else's for the next 40 odd years and the rest of your career. So definitely be your own advocate. Be that confident candidate with that self-belief that I'm sure all of you can be. That's absolutely critical. You have to showcase yourself to a panel of 3, 4, maybe even 5 or 6 barristers, and you have to show them your skills and abilities, and you should not be afraid of being your own advocate in order to do that. And that really moves me on quite succinctly to my second point, which would be to make sure that you are justifying everything that you're saying in that interview. Always make sure that you back yourself up. If you make a statement, be it about yourself or in a debate about current affairs or some niche legal issue, or a legal problem exercise, whatever it is, if you make a statement, back it up with evidence. Justify why you've made that point. Show them effectively. And I always go with the line of show, don't tell for this. Show them the evidence that you have for that point. Give them something to go on. Barristers like evidence. They deal with it every day of their lives. So make sure that you justify your points in order to persuade them. And that leads me on. You've got to be persuasive and you've got to be convincing. And that is the way that you stand out, I think, as a really exceptional candidate for pupillage. So an easy way to do that is to make sure that you're justifying everything you say. If you say that you're a good advocate, tell them why. What mooting have you done? Tell them about that. What achievements have you got extracurricularly in pro bono that show you to be a good advocate, that show you to have improved your skills, etc. So focus your answer to the question and make sure that you justify the statements that you're making with evidence of those points. And thirdly and finally, make sure that you're prepared, but definitely try and avoid any rigidity in your answers. You've got to be flexible. The panel will expect you to be flexible anyway as a barrister, because that is something you have to do. So being able to show that flexibility in a pupillage interview is really crucial. And to do that, I think you've got to be prepared for anything. Every interview that I had last year was completely different. No interview is ever the same. The questions you get asked, the debates that you will be asked to do, the legal exercises that they will expect you to conduct, they are all very different depending on, firstly, your practice areas, and secondly, the chambers that you interview at. So make sure that you're prepared for anything, and especially random questions, because you will get questions that you really haven't thought about ever having to answer or justify in a pupillage interview. Check your current affairs, firstly. I think that's an easy way to not be blindsided in an interview. And check both legal and also non-legal current affairs. I think that's really important, because some chambers will, in order to make it as fair as possible, will go for a non-legal issue that you can debate with them. Often that's their preferred method of choice, I think, because when it comes to legal debates, they prefer to do an advocacy exercise. Make sure you research the chambers, and I'm sure you will all be doing that because of the why us question in pupillage application forms. But make sure you research the chambers, because they will expect you to know about them, and they will expect you to have a commitment to applying to that chambers, and that's an easy way to show your knowledge. And finally, on that point, know your CV. They are going to ask you competency-based questions where you need to think of an example of where you've demonstrated some competency, some skill, and how you think that skill is going to help you as a barrister. Having your CV there and really knowing it in your head is going to ultimately help you think about the best example for that point that you can make. And you can go from there. And that, again, will help you stand out as a really, really good candidate. Those are my 3 key pieces of advice. Again, as I've said, there's plenty more advice and my thoughts in my pupillage guide. So if anyone would like to read that who's watching this, then please feel free to get in touch with me on LinkedIn and I will send you the guide. Thank you.